Bang. I've been playing Deathloop non-stop for the past 2 days. It's very compelling. The gameplay is almost entirely player-directed, and past the prologue anything you do is done because you decided to pursue it. You're always making some kind of progress and getting satisfying bits of advancement into breaking the loop, but it's always your call how that progress is made. You can even choose to achieve nothing in particular and just fuck around until the day is over and you loop again, which serves the purpose of familiarizing you with various guns and powers in a low-stakes environment, where you'll probably collect nothing new and learn nothing new, except how to play your character better. Time to go get killed again.
This place isn't a paradise. It's a prison. Out here, we're trapped.
We're free.
In this endless, eternal cycle.
Nowhere to run to, baby. Got nowhere to hide.
My life's purpose is on this island.
And I can't let this go on any longer. The more days I repeat,
The longer that I'm out here,
the more certain I am.
of what I have to do. The only way to protect the cycle
The only way to break this cycle
is to kill you. Time is on my side.
Apart from the level randomization, Deathloop can be considered a roguelike, in which your purpose is mainly to collect information while doing grim detective work. The world is fixed and consistent and follows the same events every single day. Getting guns and abilities is important, sure, but what really propels you forward is knowing new things about your enemies. Bad news then, because at first, you know nothing, not even your own name. Give it some time, stretch your legs, puke a little. Maybe you learn that one target is obsessed with something in particular and another one has access to it, so you pull some strings and do tricky bullshit behind the scenes to manipulate them to be in the same place at the same time. Sometimes this causes you to be unable to kill another target during that time slot because you've now got a prior engagement that afternoon, you see, so now you have to figure out how to move that target where you want them as well. Piece by piece, step by step, you engineer events to cause everyone to be exactly where you want them, when you want them. This is your chessboard, only every piece on the board hates you and wants you dead, but if you keep your cool, you can have them be on whichever squares suit you best. It's a huge murder mystery, an involved detective tale, but you're the killer. Everything is tracked for you in a menu that stores your discoveries, so you can refer back and think about them whenever you want. Discoveries are things like, Otto's workshop burns down at noon. On its own, it's worthless, but when you combine it with other stuff you know, suddenly it becomes very valuable. Deathloop is very enjoyable to fight in, which surprised me. I enjoy sneaking and blasting here. One of the things this game does is deny the player quick saving, but its structure means that's not really painful. If you screw up stealth, you're in a gunfight, but all of these people reset when you loop. Life is cheap on Black Reef, and all of these people are bastards, so fuck 'em. When you throw caution to the wind or when its slippery kite string flies out of your hands of its own volition, you'll find gunfighting is responsive and enjoyable, and most of your tools have useful combat applications. If you die, that's fine, you'll loop, and you probably learn something new. On Black Reef, death is just something you bounce back from. Sure, maybe you lose everything you had on you, but don't be such a materialist, man. You got knowledge, and isn't that what matters most? In the prologue, you learn about Residuum, which is a strange energy given off by the anomaly that the loop is anchored around on Black Reef Island. Traditionally, every time you loop by dying or reaching end of day, you will lose all of your gear and powers that you currently have. There is a way, however, to break this rule. Once you finish the necessary research into how Residuum works, you can absorb it from shimmering objects around the world, and this now becomes Deathloop's primary currency. Anytime you're back at your base, you can inspect all your weapons and abilities, and each one has a Residuum cost necessary for infusion. When you infuse a weapon or power into yourself, whatever you infused is now permanent, and it will spawn with you in your hideout on every single loop for the rest of that playthrough. Once you get this, suddenly you're able to target specific pieces of equipment out in the world to lock in and never lose, no matter how many times you die. If you like a specific gun or a specific power, infuse it and you'll always spawn with it available to create a loadout with. This dramatically changes what you can do and how you can do it, but it's still entirely up to you. And what it means is that despite the odds being stacked against you, you can eventually make yourself incredibly overpowered, and you will probably need to be overpowered, because what you lack in knowledge, you can make up for with a teleport into an enthusiastic shotgun blast to your enemy's face. Deathloop presents two main avenues of expanding your mastery of its world, one which is more material and one which is information-based. Visionary leads offer opportunities to research your assassination targets, learn about their tendencies, learn about what events happen around them. On Black Reef, everyone is perpetually reliving what they call First Day, the day that the time loop is locked in and preserved to be cycled infinitely. Colt has awareness of the cycle, and wakes up with his memories mostly intact, while the other residents of the island don't. Because of this, by following the main objective line of Visionary leads, you can slowly learn what every target and their guards, the Eternalists, will always do. If you're someone who creates or enjoys watching impressive stealth videos on YouTube, you may have some knowledge of the process that goes into making these things. We replay the same segment sometimes hundreds of times in order to get a take that feels right, and in the process, if the game is consistent enough, we learn the patterns of every single little detail in that particular mission. Deathloop is basically that, but legitimized, recognized by the game, with various systems and mechanics wrapped around the repetition to make it more interesting. The more you play, the more you repeat, the more you memorize, the more familiar the spaces and patterns become until you are effectively a god. Attaining temporal godhood, though, is equal parts firepower as it is insight, and firepower Black Reef can offer, if you pry it from its cold, temporarily dead hands. Arsenal leads are the second main objective line, and pursuing them leads you to different places and times on the island that allow you to get your hands on a strong weapon or a visionary slab. Each main target's unique ability that you can steal by killing them for it. Kitting yourself out is a process. Colt only starts with a shitty grey rarity SMG. For my first few loops, I only pursued arsenal leads to build a stockpile of useful guns and powers that let me define a playstyle I resonate with. You see, killing a target individually doesn't actually do anything. They'll still be alive again the next time you wake up on the beach. But crucially, killing targets in isolation from the others is easy, and it drops you their slab, which is their power, along with whatever unique weapon they use, which are all versions of normal guns, but with a special effect specific to that visionary. My early game was about doing little expeditions out into the world to figure out which weapons and powers I wanted to keep forever, infusing those into myself, and then finally beginning to research my targets. You could also be a little nuts and finish the game in 30 minutes, but good luck doing that when you know nothing, because while Deathloop is not padded, it is extremely knowledge-based. That said, it definitely has the whole Breath of the Wild thing going on, where you can kill Ganon immediately. And for Deathloop, some speedrunners already have. It's just way better on a first playthrough to actually build up an arsenal and work on understanding how everything works. What this means is that when you start out, it's fun to treat Deathloop like any other assassination game, where you go out and take out your targets one by one. This is a way to build up your arsenal of tools, as well as an enjoyable way to see what each target actually does, how they fight you, how they react to your presence when they know you're coming to kill them. Some of them will surprise you with both their mechanics and their personalities, but all of them are abhorrent bastards who deserve to die. The same is nearly always true of their guards we briefly touched on, the Eternalists. There's been some criticism of the AI in Deathloop for not being incredible, and while it would be uncouth of me to suggest anyone's experience is invalid, what is perfectly reasonable is for me to share my own. Yes, sometimes an Eternalist will walk into a wall forever until you put a bullet in their head, and yes, sometimes they'll trip off ledges and kill themselves, or investigate in directions that make absolutely no sense at all. But these things for me have been rare. It's easy, I think, to cherry-pick clips or moments from Twitch streamers and imagine the whole game is some irredeemable mess because of some stray guard AI screw-ups, but this couldn't be further from the truth. The one or two Eternalists that'll end up doing that in your runs will be a welcome reprieve from the hordes of them that'll gun you down and keep chasing you if you screw up in a district after being overconfident without preparing yourself. These people are little more than cannon fodder, sure, but if you put enough cannon fodder in the same place and then tell that cannon fodder their party time will will end if you get what you want, they will absolutely fuck you up, and knowing they can't truly die makes them literally suicidal, sacrificial in their pursuit of putting you in the grave for the day. What really charms me about these stealth game guards is how much work has gone into their lore to justify how stupid they are, on an intentional designed level. Bugs and glitches are one thing, okay? But this AI is genuinely dumb in a good way, and it's genuinely dumb on purpose, and the reason that's the case is to enhance Deathloop's storytelling. Eternalists are the rank and file of the island, right? They're boys and girls who signed up for eternal life, and as long as they protect their visionaries, they can continue to enjoy immortality among a never-ending party. And party they do. Almost without fail, every single Eternalist you come across is wasted in some form or another. Drunk, high, crossfaded, or probably not all there in the brain department to begin with before putting whatever they did in their bodies. Eternalists are pathetic alone, but in hordes and large enough groups can pose an immediate and sudden threat. These guys are adorable. Being absolutely hammered and all having to wear masks that canonically restrict their vision, Eternalists have fairly slow detection meters at medium to long range, and their willingness to even get off their ass and investigate noises also isn't much of a priority. Even their guard barks are hilarious. The awkward little, when they think they see Colt but don't really want to have to fight him, their stupid, hey, it's that one guy, or their ridiculous, I think I see, who are we looking for again? Of course they don't see you easily, of course they're clumsy and trip over themselves, of course they give you ample opportunity to blow them all away with clever use of your tools. They're not soldiers, they're not trained guards, they're literally too rich for their own good party animals who are here to get wrecked, maybe fuck a little, and enjoy the first day of the rest of their life eternally without any consequences for their actions. They pick up a gun or machete and they stick together because they're useless on their own and they know it. And because hunting Colt is just part of the fun, it's part of the game. These guys are so hopelessly unprepared for the situation Colt's will to break the loop presents them, that when you murder some of them, you can sometimes hear one say, "Oh god, I've never seen anyone get killed before." Well, you have now, buddy, and you're next. But don't worry, you'll wake up tomorrow, and it'll all have been a bad dream. Until you try that shit on me again, anyway. So between the visionaries who are always holed up in their respective domains and the Eternalists who are frankly kind of pathetic, Blackreef quickly begins to feel like your land, which you can traverse freely and feel a kind of detached mastery over. Once you start playing well enough, and once you have enough of the powers and guns you want, for such a dangerous place, Blackreef actually becomes very safe, almost relaxing.
Blackreef, this is Julianna Blake. There is this confused idiot who thinks he can just destroy what we've built here. His name's Colt. As per Eon program regulations, this is high alert, battle stations to be manned until threat neutralized. Everyone have a fulfilling day. This is pointless.
One of the visionaries, Julianna, is not like the others. She's not content to stay where she is and wait for Colt to do whatever he pleases. In fact, given that she has a pretty good idea of where the other visionaries will be, and therefore where Colt will be heading, why not intercept him? Why not cut him off before he can ruin everyone's fun and destroy a marvel of human engineering? The loop can be hellish, sure, but it can also be glorious. It can also be beautiful. And what right does Colt have to put an end to all that? In Julianna's mind, absolutely none. If you're in a district with a visionary currently accessible, it is always possible for Julianna to attack you. With her masquerade ability, she can disguise herself as anyone, and she can strike from any direction. On Blackreef, she is possibly the only being as dangerous as you are, sometimes more. If your game state is set to multiplayer or friends only, Julianna can often be played by a real human player. This is also part of the reason why the Eternalists are as dumb as they are on a mechanical level, being hunted by a living thinking person who wants you dead and will think of whatever they can, and bring whatever weapons and tools they can to seal your fate, while also contending with actually smart AI would simply be an unpleasant experience, so this, I feel, is an intelligent decision made in part to facilitate PvP. If you don't want Julianna to be controlled by a player, you can set your game to single player instead, and she'll be an AI, which is still terrifying in its own way due to the dread-inducing angelic voice announcing her appearance to ruin your life and make you drop all your non-infused gear and resources. The stakes are high, but if you kill her, you get back all your lives for the day as well as a random slab that can be from any visionary, even ones you've never met yet. Julianna only has one life. Colt has 3. When she's present, your exits from the district are closed off, and you both have to play the objective, so to speak. Colt has to hack an antenna in order to open up his tunnels, and Julianna is incentivized to trap either the antenna or the tunnels to deal some good damage on Colt before he can kill her or leave. By playing as Colt and being invaded by Julianna a lot, you can learn where the antennas in each district are, and this knowledge is useful when you're the invader, because it helps you understand where the enemy is likely to go. Playing as her is of course part of the fun of Deathloop, and I don't have that much experience doing so because I'm too obsessed with the joy of Colt's detective work, and I haven't played an immersive sim I loved this much in a long time. Not since Dishonored 1 did I feel such a natural joy and love for an Arkane game, although I do deeply enjoy all of them. That said, Julianna has her own power, as we mentioned, and she also has a progression system that's very different from Colt's. It's almost like playing a slightly different game. Her progression is a bit more traditionally vertical, and as you play, you'll unlock more guns and powers, as well as new skins for both Julianna and Colt, so that's a good reason to invade some players even if you're not really much of a PvP person. Julianna's gameplay is very just for fun. There aren't too many high stakes, and losing as her doesn't really matter, since mostly she just wants to troll the hell out of Colt and be as mischievous and destructive as possible. Her character and her personality resonates perfectly with the experience of invading other people, and is reflective of the kind of player who's probably going to enjoy playing her as well. Someone at Arkane basically gave griefing a progression system with level ups and gear unlocks, and it's kind of genius, honestly. Everything I just talked about combines to make Deathloop an extremely unique video game. If you're the kind of person who often laments that, games aren't original anymore, no one does anything new, no one does anything creative, Deathloop is new and creative. You probably haven't played anything quite like it before, and it is very, very good, at least in the hours I've played it. The team over at Arkane have been very responsive to player feedback and are already working on improving the game as well as engaging with their community, which is really nice to see. As a player, it can be a happy thing to be reminded that the people who make these games are often people who enjoy playing them too. If you get the chance and any of what you just heard sounds interesting, I suggest you please try out Deathloop sometime. On Black Reef, failure is just a setback, and if at first you don't succeed, die again. Thank you for watching.